You are listening to Arcane Carolinas, an exploration of the Carolinas' folklore, legends, myths, and modern weird. Each episode, we examine the historical context of our topic and aim to preserve some of the stories that help make this part of the world such a fascinating place.
Hey y'all, Michael here. Well, spooky season is well and truly done, and Thanksgiving has been had, so it's time for us to come back from our post-Halloween break. That said, this episode is the spooky season kickoff we recorded at Arcana in September of this year. I think it's worth noting that because this is a live event, our jokes are a little more risque. If you listen to the show with kids, you should take that into account and either save this one for when they're out of earshot or, be prepared to do some explaining. Your call, really. It's not our decision to make. For this recording, also, we had to use a backup method of recording, so sometimes the audio isn't quite to my extremely persnickety standards, but honestly, it's fine. I mention this only so that you won't wonder what's up if you hear something like choppy vocals every now and then or some background noise, things like that. Also, because this was recorded in a bar that was very crowded at that time, then there's a lot of that kind of sound to it also. In other live event news, I'll be solo at the South Carolina State Library on Thursday, December 12th. Talking about ghosts and holidays and a story that connects directly to the library itself. I will also have a bunch of Arcane Carolinas holiday ornaments to give out to everybody who shows up. The library asks people to register so they have a sense of how many folks to expect. So there's a link in the show notes to that event on the South Carolina State Library website. I'll also post that link on Facebook as its own thing. We'll be back at Arcane in Durham, North Carolina this time in February, where we're going to be recording 6 live episodes over the course of the weekend. It is going to be wild, and by the end of the weekend, there is no telling what we'll say. So, buckle up. And the weekend before, I'll be at the Nevermore Film Festival at the Carolina Theater of Durham, selling books and giving away Arcane Carolina swag. There are links for both of those in the show notes also. And now, without further ado, let's rewind time to late September of 2024 and climb down the long stairs into Arcana to hang out for a while. Thanks for listening.
This is the preamble. We're not recording. So when we start an episode and say, Michael and I have been talking for 25 minutes, and we just now got started on an episode, this is pretty much it. So this is some real behind-the-scenes stuff.
I'm going to put it on my spooky beads.
Okay, that works.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
Yeah. We got this thing going too, right?
Yeah. We have a backup and a backup to the backup.
Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. This is all fine. It's great. It's good. It's great. It's wonderful. Everyone's having a perfectly fine time.
So like 3 weeks ago, we recorded an episode in person for the first time in, I don't know, a long time. And
A very long time.
And we spent like the first 20 minutes just like trying not to look at each other. Because every time we looked at each other, we would just be like, this is too weird.
We're both very goofy and awkward people, and when you put us in the same room, it just amplifies. Are we recording?
Oh, yeah, totally.
That was not. I don't believe you.
We were.
Oh, are we now?
And we're actually recording via 2 methods now.
Okay, look at us. Hello and welcome to the 4th annual Arcane Carolinas Spooky Spectacular Halloween Kickoff. This event started 4 years ago as a live stream in my garage where we played Haunted House on Atari. Friday the 13th on Nintendo. And chatted to a couple people on a YouTube live stream. By the next Halloween, the world had reopened and we came to Arcana.
Yeah.
And
Arcana's kind of been our home for this since then. We even filmed a special for South Carolina Public Television here. So we really appreciate Arcana being such a true partner to Arcane Carolinas and facilitating this.
Yeah, this place is home now. And we were talking earlier this week that this event feels increasingly like homecoming, but like the good kind.
It's about Nobby the Sasquatch, and it comes in a box. And they're almost sold out. I think I got 2 physical cartridges left. But I brought an Atari and an old tube television, and as soon as we're done, I'm going to set it up, and you can play it. And I also brought a prototype board of another game that I wrote about the Lizard Man from South Carolina, because the way my brain works, and bless my wife for putting up with it, is I can't stop. And I made this thing, and I was like, that was great. I can do it better. And then I made a better game. So anyway, so you can play 2 Atari games that are brand new in 2024. Who'd have thought?
That's my inner second grader is like really excited, as is my inner whatever grade I am now, 44th grader,
44th
something
grade.
like that.
And to commemorate Michael's awesome Volume 2, get up for Michael for writing another book. He's a big fan of Nobby the Sasquatch, so I made all these little figurines of Nobby the Sasquatch, and we have some skunk ape green exclusive colors versions over here on the table for free tonight. I also have the standard tan one that is $3. But the green one is just for tonight's event, so make sure you grab one. If you have a friend that you think would like one, grab it for them too. Yeah, we're just here to have fun. Also, I have some Arcane Carolinas hot sauce, which is just a fun thing. Also, but wait, there's more. I found this in Michael's secret stash of stickers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the rip-off stickers, which I thought ran out last year. We have a couple left.
We basically only give those out here because is notoriously litigious, and we assume none of y'all will tell on us.
What?
One person on the internet tried to.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
In some things in life.
Risk mitigation.
Risk mitigation. That's our day jobs. Oh, also, we have the charm bag station over there on that coffee table. If you want to make a little charm bag with different things that can mean different things, and it's fun. Coins for health and wealth, stuff like that. Should we do the episode now?
I would love to. I have a really quick one to get us in a spooky mood.
Then let's start by introducing ourselves for the people who listen to this at some other time.
Oh, yeah.
I am reminded that at Black Mountain Library, I turned to my friend Michelle and said, gosh, I feel really awkward because normally I don't know how to start without Charlie saying, hello, Michael. And Michelle, who is just the most deadpan person in the world, just like turned to me and said, hello, Michael.
Well, I wanted to, so how many people have been to this event previously? Okay, cool. Welcome to the people that it's your first time. We're really glad you're here. Thank you for coming back to the people that came back.
Yeah.
I'm your co-host, Charlie Mushaw.
I am your other co-host, multi-award winning novelist, Michael G. Williams.
And this is Arcane Carolinas. And I have a very officious clipboard.
I like your clipboard.
It's sturdy, feel it.
Oh, that is. Yeah, all right.
It's got some weight to it.
You could hit somebody with
You could
that.
this is like a football coach clipboard. You like bop the kid on the helmet and be like, good job out there.
We had different lives.
This is serious business. I might put some stickers on here. Anyway, I tactically acquired this clipboard, and this is the first time it's been out of my backpack since then.
All right.
Yeah,
Good deal.
I'm very happy
Good for
about
you.
it. I got it specifically for this night.
Nice.
All right. The Sound of Terror.
I'm impressed.
That's it.
Very short.
We have heard stories about unsettling earth sounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my favorite weird topics.
We've heard about loud booms, like Seneca guns. The phenomena of there being loud booms along the coast. The hum.
The hum.
The hum. But what if I told you
Okay.
that there is a sound that instills fear, dread, and unease almost universally.
I would maybe want to hear that sound.
It is not the brown note, for those of you that are aware of that. Infrasound.
Oh, infrasound, yes.
Sometimes referred to as low frequency sound, describes sound waves that have a frequency below the lower limit of human audibility. It's infrared light, like we can't see it, right? Infrasound exists. Animals can produce infrasound. Elephants, whales, rhinoceros, giraffes, alligators, hypothetically Sasquatch.
What can't
Don't
Sasquatch
laugh at that.
do?
That's a going theory, my man.
Is that?
Yes, that is a going theory.
All right.
That Sasquatch has infrasound capability.
So basically, Sasquatch would be producing the opposite of a dog whistle.
Yeah, he's like in the woods, like,
Okay. Yeah.
lower than that, and it like scrambles your brains.
What can't Sasquatch do?
You tell me. Be caught on film.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what he can't do. It's also produced by volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, avalanches, and icebergs.
Oh, neat.
Like when they break. Yeah. So one of the pioneers in infrasonic research was French scientist Vladimir Gavreau. And his interest in infrasonic waves came in 1957. He was in a large concrete building with a research team, and the group was experiencing bouts of periodic and deeply unpleasant nausea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had a few workplaces like that.
I've worked there. Remember when we would all just like, where's Glenn? You know about this. Everyone in the office would just pass each other illness. It was like the most poorly ventilated basement office.
We used to work in a very overstuffed office in a basement with one window, and I had seniority, so I got the window. And
I worked my way to the window.
You did work your way to the window, yeah. And it was like all we did was sit down there and make each other sick.
Yep. But without that sickly cubicle farm, we wouldn't be here tonight.
That's true.
All respect to the cubicle farm. So anyway, so they couldn't figure out what was making them sick. They thought it was like a gas leak, or they realized, okay, we're not actually making each other ill. And then they discovered and I quote, loosely poised low-speed motor developing nauseating vibrations. Gavreau and his team attempted to measure the amplitude and pitch. They were shocked when their equipment could not pick up any audible sound.
Okay, but as soon
it
as
was
they
vibrating, and they could see it vibrating.
But if they turned it off, then everybody stopped wanting to puke.
Yes. The sound being generated by the motor was so low in pitch that it was below their biological ability to hear, and recording equipment at that time that they had access to couldn't even detect the frequency. So dude was off to the races. He was like, I've discovered something. I'm a scientist and I must investigate.
I have discovered a new sound.
Yes. So eventually it was determined that the sound was inducing the nausea. It was a 7 cycle per second infrasound wave that was inducing resonance in ductwork and architecture in the building, which was amplifying it. So it was this big concrete block of a building with like big metal ductwork and this little motor sitting there, right? And then it's just
So basically everybody was like sitting in the inside of a big guitar.
Yes.
And the guitar was playing this machine's sound.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Do I have any old computer fans in the house? A couple? Okay. You're going to appreciate this next guy's name. So fast forward to the 80s, and there's an engineer named Vic Tandy.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like the VIC-20 and then Tandy Computers also. And so the guy, it's like a 2-for-1.
Yeah,
like, funny name. So Vic Tandy was working in a laboratory designing medical equipment. He has no relation to Radio Shack or the Tandy, brand. So word began to...
I'm very disappointed in that, frankly.
Yeah. So word began to spread around the staff that the lab might be haunted.
Yeah.
And Tandy attributed that to the constant wheeze of the life support machines operating in the building and people just being freaked out. But one evening, he was working in his own lab when he began to feel distinctly uncomfortable. He broke into a cold sweat. His hair stood on his neck. And he was convinced that he was being watched. Mm-hmm. He had the sensation that something was watching him.
Yeah.
Then out of the corner of his eye, he noticed a gray shape drifting slowly into his view. But when he turned around, it was gone. He went straight home. He got up, grabbed his stuff, and left. Does this sound familiar?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it sounds a little familiar, right?
Sounds very familiar.
Michael had an experience. There's an episode about it.
I quit that job.
The very next day, he was a fencer as a hobby, sword fighter.
Sure.
It's pretty. If your name is Vic Tandy, I'm like, okay. It just feels like a pretty fancy hobby.
It's like very swashbuckling.
Yeah. I'm Vic Tandy. And he's like, the blade that he had in his office was vibrating up and down very fast.
Oh, wow.
He found that the vibrations were caused by a standing sound wave that was bouncing between the end of the walls of the laboratory and reached peak intensity in the center of the room.
Huh.
So he calculated that frequency, and it was 19 hertz.
That's
Right below what you can hear.
Yeah.
And he discovered that it was produced by a newly installed extractor fan. When the fan was turned off, the sound wave disappeared, everybody was fine.
Huh.
Another more recent investigation took place in an allegedly haunted 14th century pub in the basement. People had reported terrifying experiences and seeing a spectral gray lady. We've talked about the color of ghosts.
Yeah.
Tandy also uncovered a 19 hertz standing wave. Mythbusters did an experiment in 2012 with two cabins. One was the control, one was the experiment. One was pumped full of inaudible 19 hertz sound waves, and it yielded positive results.
By positive results, does that mean somebody had an
People
experience?
freaked out, yes.
Okay. I just want to clarify.
A little less ghosty. In 2003, researchers held two concerts for 700 people each.
Oh my God.
And they
How much
bombed the crowd.
How much informed consent was involved in this?
Sure.
I'd like to see the IRB statement on this. I am wearing my unnecessarily academic t-shirt.
In the first mix, several songs had a 17 hertz undertone played through the PA while the music played. For the second concert, they changed the songs that they did that with, so it wasn't consistent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The participants were not told which pieces included the low-level tone, and the presence of the tone resulted in a significant number. 22% of respondents reported feeling uneasy or sorrowful, getting chills down their spine, or nervous feelings during the specific songs.
Now I really want to know whose songs they were.
Yeah, no, that wasn't part of the article.
Okay.
If all perceptible matter is just vibrating atoms,
Yes.
what is it about this specific 19 hertz frequency that impacts our consciousness with bad vibes and ghostly perceptions? Why did we evolve to be ill at ease when hearing that frequency in particular?
Oh, there's probably a pretty good sci-fi horror story in that.
It's freaky and weird. It's scary.
Why do we want to run away from that sound that we can't hear?
Exactly. It should be noted that a tiger's roar contains frequencies of about 18 hertz.
Oh,
In nature, there are predators that make that a noise at that frequency. But I think there's potentially something more there.
oh, sure. Are you pitching to me to extemporize?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
That was just a freaky, scary story. I was just like, why are we scared of this noise that we can't hear?
This is also how the show gets made.
There's a lot of, I'm done. You go now.
I feel like, okay, I like the angle that there is some really unsettling reason why we evolved to avoid that sound. For instance, aliens, UFOs. What if
Ghosts.
UFOs produced that sound by chance? Ghosts. But what if instead, just taking the sci-fi horror sock and turning it inside out, what if instead we were engineered to respond to that sound by something that wanted to make sure they had a way to clear humans out of the room anytime they felt like it?
I like that.
Aliens, again, aliens.
It's always aliens.
It's always aliens.
It's aliens all the way down, Michael.
Okay, if we're going to take it as a given that UFOs are real and that all the sightings that have been seen in the last few years especially are real and legitimate material things that are able to zip around and break laws of physics at will, then why can't they produce a sound that would make us ignore them by running the other direction?
And there are theories that the UAP phenomenon is all linked to consciousness.
Yeah. Well, there's John Keel's whole ultra-terrestrials thing, but we only have 40 minutes, and so I cannot go down a John Keel rabbit
We have
hole.
more like 22.
Okay, we have 32.
We'll take as long as we need.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
We're going to get through it. Everybody's having a really nice time.
All right. But ultra-terrestrials, John Keel's theory of the ultra-terrestrials being these sort of an extra-dimensional being that exists to be an evolutionary pressure, that exists just to show up and mess with us. And he attributed everything from angels to vampires to ultra-terrestrials.
I do like your Eve discussed Bigfoot getting dropped off.
There was an entire wave in the 70s of UFOs in Pennsylvania dropping Bigfoots off. And those Bigfoots were basically going for walkies. And those Bigfoots would often just lumber around and bang into stuff and be like real dumb, even for a Bigfoot. And there were instances where they would get dropped next to the power station, like transformer station kind of things. And they would just blunder in and just be like bazap because they didn't know what they were doing. And they would singe themselves badly and roar and beat up stuff. And then the UFO would show back up and be like, okay, you're done. And where does that come from?
I love it. I love it. But yeah, that's the sound of terror. It has nothing to do with the Carolinas, but I thought it was a nice tone setter.
All right, there we go. I like it. Charlie.
Yes, Michael.
Have you ever been to the Eno State Park?
Yes, I have.
Raise your hand if you've been to the Eno State Park. Raise your hand if you've ever been to the Cabelands Trail. Good deal. I had never been, but I heard a lot of stories over the years that there was a lot of stuff there. Originally, there was going to be a PowerPoint that I was going to project, and I'm going to post the photos on Facebook tomorrow because we don't have anything to project against, and life is going to go on. But they are at the trailhead is at 4950 Howe Street, Howe Street, here in Durham. They were originally the property of a guy named John Cabe. He was born in 1752. He died April 21st, 1818. He owned a plantation. Eventually, by the time he died, he owned 3,000 acres along the river. He and his wives they were successive, not...
Yeah, I had questions. I'm not judging, I just had questions.
So that's fair. It was the middle of nowhere. You could get away with a lot, but he built a mill, then he built another mill, then his 9 daughters each married other people who owned mills on the Eno River.
Johnny Mills, that should have been his name.
So when they say the Cabelands, they are not kidding.
Yeah.
This one family owned basically every mill between Hillsborough and Durham.
Good for them.
And they owned mills where you ground flour, but they also owned oil mills. It's really hard for me to get that out. I started to say oil mills.
Oil mills.
But they did this. They did build everything that you could mill, like linseed oil, stuff like that.
You could mill a lot of things.
You could mill a lot of things.
With a little bit of effort and a dream. Or anything.
He was also a politician in that he was a loyalist to the crown during the Revolutionary War.
That's a stance to take.
And his job was as a wagoner, which meant that he drove English prisoners around in his wagon for money. He was basically like the paddy wagon for the British during the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay.
So, okay.
That's the job.
But as soon as the revolution happened...
Yeah, how'd it go for him when that ended?
He got elected to the state legislature immediately, subsequently, many times over and over again.
Okay.
There was a really contentious state legislative election immediately after the revolution. And it was so bad that riots broke out and they had to have a second election. And he was the only person who got elected both times.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, he was a pretty successful politician. Apparently nobody held it against him.
Okay. I might.
His father was this guy named Barnaby Cabe, also, who was also involved in all these industries.
That's a baller name you never hear anymore.
They were originally McCabes, and then they came over in the middle of a whole bunch of strife between the Scottish and the English, and they dropped the Mc and just became Cabes and moved to North Carolina, and we're like, everybody's going to leave us alone now.
We're just regular old Cabes.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about here.
Any Scottish brogue you detect is a mistake. So they had 3,000 acres out on the river, and they built a huge plantation. John Cabe, had something in the neighborhood of 60 enslaved people.
Johnny Mills.
For him. Johnny Mills, yes. Yeah. But John Cabe.
Johnny Mills.
We're not changing his name right now.
I have.
Okay, fair enough. You can change his name if you want to.
It will live in my brain that way.
If you go out to the Cabelands Trail, if you walk onto the trailhead, then there is one trail that goes like directly ahead. And eventually there are a couple of branches off to the sides, but if you just stay on the main trail, then it descends very slowly down the hillside. And a little ways in, you'll notice a big flat green space. And then the trail like descends very rapidly around the front of that. And that is the old Cabe homestead. Mm-hmm. Everybody, when they talk about the Cabelands and hauntings, they talk about the cemeteries that are in the Cabelands because there are a bunch of family plots out in this area. But a guy whose name was Herb Englishman.
The names on this one are just really good. Where was he from?
He was from Durham. He, during the 80s and 90s and 2000s, was a naturalist with the North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
Okay.
He was a park ranger, basically.
Is he still alive?
He died last year, I think.
I will not make jokes.
Okay.
Out of respect for Herb.
I'm pretty sure that the obituary I found was his. I'm also pretty sure the LinkedIn page I found was his. But nothing on LinkedIn ever gets updated.
Maybe it's a haunted LinkedIn. Maybe you can just like start chatting at it and see what happens.
I'm pretty sure LinkedIn is, in fact, a haunted house. But he wrote on the Eno River Association's website about 20 years ago that every time he went out to the Cabelands, he would always take a miniature tape recorder, and he would go to the cemetery, and he would try to get EVP recordings, and he never heard anything there. But he said that every time he went to the homestead location, always got recordings. And his exact words were, every time I go to the homestead, I get recordings. He said that he would hear the voice of a man, he would hear the voice of a woman, and he would hear the voices of little girls.
No, thank you.
And apparently the little girls were the chatty ones, but mostly they would just be...
What's going on? I'm dead. It's been dead a long time.
But most...
Join us.
Do we have anything else?
Herbert.
I was going to ask, do they have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I think we're all done now.
So if you go out there...
I'm going to tell Papa Mills.
The ironic thing is, with a ghost, I would rather see and not hear it.
I just imagine an overly vocal ghost would be annoying.
Well, that's the thing.
What?
What do
you want me to do for you?
As soon as somebody said, let's go to a place we can hear the voices of dead children anytime we want, I would say, no, let's not.
I'm good.
Let's never go there.
I don't want to hear about their hoof and stick. I don't want to hear about how they were playing jacks.
I do have questions about hoop and stick, but that's beside the point. I am ever on a quest for how to understand things I've never done.
Like kick the can.
They have already kicked the can, Charlie. They're tired of that game. The thing about the
I think the people here are tired of this bit. Hey!
And yet.
I persisted.
There's no trail to the homestead site itself. But the homestead site is not hard to get to. It is basically like right off the trail. You just have to know what you're looking for. And it's basically the only thing that looks like it was ever cleared out there. But it's a really beautiful location, and it's on a bluff overlooking the Eno River and overlooking the creeks that feed into the Eno River. And it would have been a really beautiful homestead. And according to Herb Englishman, the ghosts liked it there because that was where they had been happy in life. Which I thought was an interesting take, because so often you hear people say, I'm going to go ghost hunting, I'm going to go out to the graveyard.
Yeah, no ghost is haunting a graveyard. There's nothing there for them.
Yeah, why would they be hanging out there?
It's just where this is.
That's where that is. But I did that he said that there was an especially talkative set of little children ghosts out there. Now, we went out there earlier this week. We took my microphone and my phone, and I did a little walking around in the homestead and said, hey, is there anybody that wants to talk to us? And nobody talked to me. I'm okay with the fact that dead children do not want to hang out with me.
Let me ask you a question.
It was not particularly disappointing.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. But what were you using to record?
This, my phone.
Okay.
Did you bring the sound?
All it is my husband and I telling each other not to step on snakes.
What I'm driving at is I'm speculating, but I'm willing to wager that the physical medium that Herbert would have used would have been tape.
It would have been.
Which is different.
It is.
Maybe that has different properties.
Yeah.
That somehow interact with the other side.
And in the course of things today, did you bring your little...
I need a theremin.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Next year.
The thing you had a retcon that made the goat sound.
Oh, the screaming goat? No, I did not bring he might be in one of these boxes or bags, but I'm not sure, so we're not going to waste time.
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, it's okay. That was a facetious question.
I come equipped.
I'm sure. I did today, by happenstance, run across my old tape recorder.
Okay.
And so when I go out there again, then yeah, I'm going to take that just in case.
I love that.
Yeah. I did try taking the audio of us walking around and telling each other not to step on snakes and plug it into the editing software that we use because it transcribes every episode. And I thought, what if it picks up something that I didn't?
Right.
But it didn't pick anything up, or at least it did not see fit to transcribe it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We did also go looking for the graveyard because the graveyard was a little harder to spot based on the map. And it turns out that to get to the graveyard, you can either go this like really winding way where you happen across it, or at the very beginning of the trail, when you're looking at the official trail that has a gate, then if you look like 10, 15 feet to the right, you can make out like an old trail headed into the woods, which is definitely a thing that lots of people should do on the word of a stranger. But if...
Just go there, it's fine.
Just go there, it's fine. If you take that, you do find the Cave Graveyard, where we found a bunch of really cool graves that are from the 18th century, 19th century, really cool, creepy graveyard, in part because some of the gravestones are incredibly elaborate and very well preserved, and some of them are very poorly preserved, and some of the graves are only marked by a rectangle of white stones.
Those are all the son-in-laws. So all the daughters got the nice ones and all the son-in-laws.
Oh, there you go, okay.
Johnny Mills was like,
Yeah.
I'm not paying for that.
But one of the things that gets pointed out about that
He
graveyard
didn't become
is...
Johnny Mills by buying everybody nice gravestones, Michael.
That's probably, I don't know, maybe you get elected to office a whole bunch of times as a Tory by buying people nice gravestones. If you look at the graveyard, you'll see that there are a bunch of graves that are only marked out in those white stones. And then there are also a bunch of places where you have to be very careful where you step because the ground has sunk in. Because these graves are old enough that like the caskets have now rotted away and the ground is caved in and nobody maintains it anymore. It's just a graveyard in a state park on an unofficial trail. And there, again, didn't hear anything, didn't have anybody mess with us, didn't hear anything on the recording from my phone, didn't have anything show up in the transcription either. But it's an exceptionally beautiful space, and it's on the Mountain to Sea Trail, and it was really fun for the first time in my life to go looking for a ghost. Because the experience that you referenced, that I have had people suggest there was infrasound before, and if that's the case, I hope I never hear infrasound again, but I have never chosen to go looking for a ghost since then.
I understand why, and there's details about your experience that go a little bit beyond the infrasound theory, in my opinion.
Sure.
I think that you sharing this story with me, which I had no idea what he was going to talk about, is a perfect example why we can never have a paranormal show.
Oh, no.
Because I'd just be like, "Whoa," and you'd be like, Charlie, knock it off, and be like, no, I'm having too much fun.
And then I would be like, I'll be in the hotel.
This is for me, not you. Ah.
But the Cave Lands Trail, it is supposedly haunted. There are some people who say they have gone out there and had a lot of stuff happen in the graveyard, and I hope that's the case. I hope that if you want to find a ghost and you go there, that you find one. And that's my story.
It's a really good one.
And tomorrow I'm going to post a bunch of photographs on Facebook because we took some really great headstone photos and they were really fun. And we had a great time. And I think people ought to go out there.
Could you also give us the directions?
Yes, I will link to the site that had the best map.
I can take you.
There you go. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
That was a good one.
I risked sanity and I got a good walk out of it. That's a great trade-off.
Here's the thing about the Cave Lands. I've walked on the trail I've never gone to the homestead or anything, but I've been on that trail. It's one of those locations in the Triangle that gets written about on like paranormal blogs or Reddit or whatever, like a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot. I never bothered to look up the history until now, so this was like particularly awesome. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
That area was really like what Durham was going to be.
Okay.
And then when they started the train station, which was like 200 yards that way, then all of a sudden there was like no commerce up there, and all those people moved to town. And eventually, like Cabe's sons and grandsons all became mayors of Durham and stuff like that.
Well, the rock quarry is where the rock came from. The
Yeah. Yeah. There's a trail to the quarry and all kinds of good stuff. But it's also a place that is shockingly just natural.
Yeah.
And so you can be 5 minutes from the parking lot and just be in the middle of nature in a way that I'm surprised you can be in the Triangle.
No, it's great. When I did that crazy hike where I nearly killed myself, that was where I would go to train.
Oh, yeah. Good deal.
Yeah. So anyway,
Next story.
I'll explain it. We can cut this from the episode, but I'll explain it. There's a 42-mile challenge on the Appalachian Trail where you start at the Pennsylvania line and go through Maryland and wind up in West Virginia without stopping. So I did that.
In a day, right?
Yeah, it's in a day. You just, without stopping, you just go.
Yeah, one day.
So you camp out the night before, you get up well before the sun gets up and you just start going. And as I limped into Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, I looked at my friend who had convinced me to do this with him, and he was like, hey, we're almost there. I'm like, don't talk to me. Just don't talk to me. I did it. I said I would do it. I did it. I'm never doing it again. So anyway, cryptids are the next topic.
Yeah, go for it.
The first one was just generic to set the tone and spooky. This one is out of Wilmington. Has anyone heard of Willie the Wilmington sea serpent? Okay, we got one. We got two. Okay. When was the first time you heard about Willie the Wilmington sea serpent? I'm curious.
Seconds ago.
Excellent.
Actually,
Recently?
Not like.
In 2014-ish.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that, like, it's not super well known, and I'm going to tell you why. Situated betwixt the Atlantic Ocean and the Cape Fear River. There isn't a whole lot that I haven't already said about Wilmington that is left to be said after having done several episodes. Episode 86, Story of the Haunted House, the Price Gauss House. What I can share that's new is that there's a local business very relevant to the topic of Willie the Wilmington Sea Serpent, and that is Sea Monster Sauces, purveyors of multi-award-winning sauces and spice blends.
Okay.
They seem like good people. They did not make the Arcane Carolinas hot
I was
sauce.
going to say, are we suddenly sponsored?
No, we are not. And also worth mentioning is there's a cocktail bar called the Eagle's Dare, and during the month of October, they are having constant events, and they're like redoing like their theme as like a Halloween theme. And it looks really cool. So if you're in Wilmington within the next month, check it out. We are not sponsored by either of those things. We just like to plug local businesses when we can. So the legend. I first heard about the legend of Willie from a 2007 book called Weird North Carolina. And it was that book does anybody else have that book?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it's a mile wide and an inch deep, but it's good to find weirder stories. So it said that sightings of a mysterious sea serpent have come from the Cape Fear side of Wilmington for centuries. The first written record of the serpent was made in 1524 when Spanish explorer Giovanni de Verrazano came to the area. In his journal, he allegedly wrote, and I quote, "We traveled to the mouth of the river and made camp. During the night, one of the men saw a great snake resting upon the waves not far from the shore." Sightings continued as various parties tried to build a city at this point on the eastern seaboard. The Earl of Wilmington himself, Spencer Compton, for whom the city is named, because he was the Earl of Wilmington, it's not named Compton, obviously. Reported seeing something surface on the water in 1732. James Calden, a part-time naturalist and full-time Union soldier, took down accounts of the beast when he was stationed in the city in 1865.
Oh.
He wrote in his journal, "Local citizens all seem to see the same thing. A long snake-like creature that surfaces occasionally at the mouth of the Cape Fear River. It's described as being dull gray in color, approximately 4 feet wide, and over 40 feet in length. They have named it Willie in honor of this town of Wilmington."
I went until you got to the 40 feet in length thing. I was like, so it's an alligator.
You know how much that has to eat?
Yeah.
Per the October 2020 issue of the newsletter from the Friends of the Graveyard at the Atlantic Museum, which I've been to.
Yeah, okay.
Great museum. This is from them. Local sightings of the monster have continued, and local historian Tabit Cruthfield, not Crutchfield, Cruthfield, has recounted several of the sightings for a folklore book of the area and helped set up a small exhibit at the Wilmington Historical Museum. Quote, Willie is still out there, or at least his descendants, Cruthfield is reported to have told the newsletter. More quotes. Fishermen still see him occasionally, and he's been spotted up the river and even coiled around the old battleship once. In 1968, a paleontologist came here and looked for Willie, but never saw him. He, the paleontologist, did write down what everyone had seen and said that Willie might be a basilosaurus. That's a dinosaur. It's like a distant relative of the whale.
Just keep giggling. He came to Wilmington and looked for Willie. I've made that trip too.
Can't say that I have.
We've lived different lives.
So,
It was my turn.
well played. Played.
Big Willie energy.
Big Willie. Played. Willie is slang for penis. You got to edit this.
Yeah. I know what the stinger's going to be.
There's another joke in there.
It's just jokes all the way down.
All right. Welcome to a live one, folks. So it's the facts about Willie. Hi, I'm Charlie Bushaw here with your Willie facts. Let me know when you're ready.
I promise I'll stop now.
No, you don't. Keep going. This is fun. I'm having a lovely time.
Oh, excellent.
Okay. Giovanni de Verrazzano did explore the coastline. That's fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I wasn't willing to take his account for much because he also thought the Albemarle Sound was the Pacific Ocean. But okay.
he did visit the mouth of the Cape Fear on March 21st, 1524. Like, specifically, we have a date.
Okay.
He hung out, took a lot of notes, but kept moving north. Mm-hmm. His letters to King Francis of France, which is funny to me. Well, Frank of France. Frank of the Franks. He gave thorough descriptions of the people and wildlife that he had encountered during his voyage. The trading, the gift-giving that was performed. The accounts are really fascinating to read, actually. If, like, you look up his journals and his letters to the king, like, very detailed, has a lot of cool things to say about the people that he encountered. It's probably the most interesting colonial era exploration log I've ever read.
Probably.
Because it's just like, oh, we met these people. They seemed really nice. We kept moving to the next town. Those people were less nice. So we kept moving to the next town.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. It was like, but he was purely here to map the coast. So he didn't stay anywhere long. And the oft attributed quote first appears on a website made by the same people that produced the Blair Witch Project for a short-lived TV show called Freaky Links.
Yes.
Oh.
Awesome show.
It's been preserved by fans of the show as Freakopedia, where Willie lives on. Apparently, it was like a mixed media art project, the website, that accompanied the show with blog entries, audio files, video, all uploaded by characters from the show. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very late 90s, early 2000s.
That's like really legitimately awesome.
And it's really cool that somebody preserved it. So I moved on from his account, though.
Yeah.
Because that was the only place I could find that quote. And I spent a lot of time reading this dude's journal. Like, a lot.
Yeah.
It's got to be in here somewhere. It's got to be in here somewhere. Like, I could have just Control F, search the phrases, but that wasn't coming up with anything. So I was like, gotta find the right date and read it. And yeah, I went full Michael on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, Union records. Let's go to the Civil War guy.
Yeah.
There's not one but two James Caldens as having volunteered in the Union Army. So the first is recorded as a member of the 22nd Regiment of Massachusetts Infantry. However, that unit was discharged in 1864, a year prior to the capture of Wilmington, and they were never since.
Yeah.
So he's out. The other one is recorded as a member of the 9th Regiment New Hampshire Infantry, a unit that participated in the capture of Wilmington.
Oh, so this dude's legit and existed.
Yes. And that conflict ended on February 22nd, 1865.
Yeah.
So it lines up with the date and everything. He was discharged from service July 25th, 1865. So we got our soldier.
Yeah.
And I verified the 1903 SS Tresco account way back in episode 50.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite ones that we've ever done because it's legit. And it occurred on the Atlantic side and not exactly right off the coast of Wilmington, but similar to the other verifiable 1947 Santa Clara account. It's close enough for me to consider if we're talking about large aquatic life that it could travel.
Totally. And that one came from its era's equivalent of an FAA report.
Yeah, but I couldn't nail down the Calden quote. So I found my soldier, but I couldn't nail down the account.
Sure.
And that was really bugging me. And it took me back to Freakopedia. I found out that every quote in every book that has Willie the Sea Serpent all goes back to Freakopedia, including the museum, the legitimate actual museum.
They're all Freaky Links
It's
LARPing.
Freaky Links all the way down, Michael.
Yeah. They're basically LARPing Freaky Links.
Yes. They made up sources on Freaky Links that other people just quote without even looking, like fake. Yes.
So when we talk about how a story just gets copied and pasted over and again, and eventually the gray man winds up on a real estate website, then yeah, it's that kind of thing.
They're like, oh, this book from this press. That press doesn't exist. That author doesn't exist. That article was never written. You go through and it was all made for this TV show.
That's
but
wild.
Someone that was working on that TV show took the time to get actual historical figures
Yeah.
that maybe could have sort of fit into the story, which is amazing.
Hey, that's a stunning amount of work. So my hat is off to them. But also, how do we know that is not influencing reality? If enough people repeat it, does it not become true in some sense?
People will definitely tell you, oh, I saw something. And then that's Willie.
Yeah, I love it.
That's Willie.
Episode title.
Willie. Anyway, that was a fun sort of debunking cryptid one.
Oh, but I love it. That's great.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's a real journey to go from this seems legit to nope, it's from a website. This seems legit again. Nope, it's the same.
I texted Michael as I was doing the notes for this. I was like, damn it. When something that I thought was fake is starting to look real. And then I texted him like a couple hours later. I was like, busted.
But like when we talk about the fact that we need to find things from before the X-Files existed, we're not kidding.
Yeah.
The era of paranormal fiction on TV has, in a lot of ways, polluted the field of research, like
Totally.
the field of available sources.
So here's a preview for an upcoming convention in 2025. One of the panels discussions, live episodes that I've pitched, it hasn't been accepted yet, but it's an episode we're going to do, is how I have that ringtone. I don't know who that was. That wasn't me, but I heard it. Fun aside, my ringtone used to be something a lot cheerier, and somebody was like, that's not you. And so I changed it to that. They're like, that's much more you. And I was like, cool. It was Dave, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Hi, Dave. Where's I going?
Your panel.
Panel.
Retcon panel.
I've got this idea for a panel where we can break down and discuss how we can get back to applying, I'll use paranormal stuff for an example, actual J.B. Ryan style parapsychology. Start with actual hard science and work out from there.
Yeah.
You might not find anything, but at least you know that if you do find something, you've taken the right steps and not applied popular culture over top of it. I mean, anyone that listens to the show knows that I love popular culture and fiction. But if we want to find something real, maybe we need to do things like, I don't know, Google the fake sources from Freaky Links.
Yeah. I don't know, suffice to say, if I were going to be trapped in a role-playing game, it would be Call of Cthulhu by my choice, because at least it's got libraries. And so I'm really into the research side. I love this.
That's all I had for the evening. I'm done.
That's all I had also.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to hang out. Give us a second to break this down. I'm going to set the Atari up with the TV. You can come up, you can play it. There's free stuff over there. Plenty of figurines. Take some for friends if you think they might like them. Please take those vampire teeth and Halloween beads and stuff and stickers. And if you dig deep enough, there's little eraser tops. Remember eraser tops that you would like stick on your pencils? Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of Halloween ones. I think it's in the glow in the dark one, but you got to dig to the bottom. They're fun stuff. Anyway, thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Arcane Carolinas. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. For more episodes, behind the scenes information, and links to our social media, check out www.arcanecarolinas.com, where you can also buy the Arcane Carolinas book.
And if you like award-winning horror and science fiction, check out my books at michaelgwilliamsbooks.com. And if you have story suggestions, comments, or questions, email us at arcanecarolinas@gmail.com. And thanks for listening.
In case you're wondering, this will not make the edit.